In today's video, I'm going to share with you my husband's 3D crafty prints. My husband got a new 3D printer and he's been busy in our garage making me all of these fun things that he's found online for free. So these are all free files that he was able to download and print, and we're going to test them out and rate them. Basically, are they any good or are they garbage? Hi everyone, my name is Jenny. Welcome to my channel where we share paper crafting ideas and inspiration. Let's jump into today's video. All right, so I have an array of items that he's printed and we're going to take a look at them one by one. So let's start with this Distress Oxide ink pad holder. This is designed to hold 4 Distress Oxide ink pads. Now, when he did print it, there was a little mistake that happened here. Now, we're not sure if it's because of the file or if it was because of his print. He's just learning. So this is from Pretty Inks, and my husband just added my name inside of here. So Jenny Card Designs at youtube.com. It fits 4 Distress Oxide ink pads perfectly. So you could print a whole bunch of these and stack them up. So currently in the works are several more of these so that I could put all my oxide inks by color family into these trays and stack them up in my craft space. This was definitely not a fail, even though there was a little bit of an error on the print. We love it. Okay, moving on to the next one. Since we're doing Distress Oxide inks, I really loved the design. Now, this one has 3 spots for blending tools, a spot for your lid, and a spot for your ink pad. And my husband also put little rubber feet on the bottom. I like this because when you store them, you can stack them on top of each other like so and store them. Or if you had like a dowel or something, you could build a stand and just put them on the dowel through the hole, and then you could stack them all up like that. And the filament that he used for this was a rainbow, and I just absolutely love it. It's so pretty. You can just take a look at how the colors come through on that. Really nice. So we love it, but does it work? Let's try. It doesn't quite fit, but I think it still does the trick. So let's see. Take the lid off. Much better. Okay, so that's in there. And then we have ink blending tools. Now, this is great if you're going to be going, if you only have one of them, let's say, and you're going to be going back and forth between colors. You could put the 3 colors that you are working with and then just switch out your ink pad. But it kind of, the lid portion is only going to hold 1 lid. But let's say you're blending with this color and you want to switch to this color, but you typically wouldn't take the lid off and put it back on. So I feel like 3 holes for 3 blending tools doesn't really make sense unless you had 3 sort of places to hold your ink pads, if you know what I mean. But I do love it regardless. So the ink pad stays. It doesn't fit straight down in there, but it does stay in the little holder. So you can add your ink to your paper. Oh, I don't know why I did that. And then if you wanted to switch out to the next color, I feel like putting the lid inside of the holder doesn't really make any sense. That's a very vibrant color. This is not an ink blending tutorial by any means. I just wanted to show the little ink holder. So this is going to be rated good. It does have a little negative features like the ink lid. I don't really see the purpose of it. If you're switching between inks, if you're only using 1 ink, then I don't see the purpose of 3 ink blending holders. I don't know. I still love it. So we're gonna rate this one as a pass and give it good with a few minor, I don't know what I'm trying to say. So we like this one, basically. That's what we're trying to say. All right, moving on to the next item. My husband made this actually for the kitchen. It wasn't quite for my craft room, but I thought it would be kind of useful for the craft room. So basically what it is a little tray. This comes out and it's slanted here so that you put dishcloths or sponges inside of it, and the water drains into the tray and then drains out through this little lip into the kitchen sink so that you don't have any sort of mildew or mold growing on your sponges. So let's say, for example, I don't have a sponge, but I do have a cloth. If we have a cloth, and this is probably, you would have something like this in your craft room that was a little wet, you could just put it on your tray and let the water drain into the tray onto your craft table. So I don't know about the usefulness of this in your craft space unless you had, like, you know, something to catch it in, I suppose. But for the kitchen sink, you would just put this over the edge of the sink and it's slanted and it'll drain out. I also added 2 little rubber feet on the bottom to make sure that, you know, that base wasn't flat and it was angled so that it would, you know, the water would feed out. So I do like this one. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to use it in my craft room because I'm worried about it getting onto my table. I could potentially just, you know, store my cloths in here. When I'm done crafting, I could take this and put it on the sink and let it drain out while the cloths dry. They probably wouldn't dry. I don't know. I don't know how useful this is for the craft room, but for the kitchen, it's A+, because we use little scouring sponges and you could just set those in there. But I feel like the cloths would end up being smelly anyways, all folded up like this. I really like it anyways, but we're going to give this one a fail for the craft room, I think, but good for the kitchen. Okay, let's move along to the next one. The next one we have is a tear ruler. So this ruler looked like it got all messed up. So it looks like junk. It looks like it's definitely broken. But when we use it like it's intended, so this is supposed to make your paper have distressed edges. So let's try. So you just put the ruler down and tear your paper. And then you end up with these really cool distressed edges. I like that. That turned out really well. I was surprised. I thought, well, this looks like a piece of crap, but it's actually very good. It does exactly what I want it to do, and I love that distressed edge. And we just ink up the edges, and it's perfect. I absolutely love it. So we have this beautiful distressed edge. So this was an A+. It looks like crap, but it works perfectly. Okay, so I love this one. Okay, moving on to the next one, we have some bookbinding tools. Now, I thought this was really cool. So first thing, there's a bone folder here. And I was worried. I was like, is this going to rip my paper when I try to use it? But actually, it works very well. It's the perfect little bone folder to press things down, give us nice sharp creases. Now, I know like a Teflon bone folder typically doesn't leave marks. I can't tell if this leaves any sheen or anything. I don't know. But I do like it. I think it's cute and it fits nice into your hand, and nothing is, especially when you're going to use it flat like this part doesn't stab you. So I like that. It fits nicely in your hand. Okay, the next one we have are some little rulers. And so this is basically, you know, an L-shaped ruler. Now this is in centimeters. I don't use centimeters. Some people might. So for me, the purpose of this is just to make sure that I get stuff straight, or if I want to draw a straight line on something and make sure that, you know, I have a nice 90-degree angle. I can use my little ruler and make a nice straight line. This pen was probably not the best choice, but let's see, I can get it nice and straight. This pen sucks. The pen is definitely a fail. Let's try this one. So I bet you never thought that you would be sitting here watching somebody draw straight lines on a ruler. Actually, that kind of was weird. When I went to press the pen and it pressed up against the side of the ruler, there's little notches there, and then it didn't even work. My pen's broken. Fail number, I don't know, 3, 4 with the ruler. Okay, let's try this again. So, not with the ruler, with the pen. Fail number 3 with the pen. Let's try this one. So, hopefully this will show you. Now, when I put my pencil or pen straight up and down, it rubs against the ridges of that ruler. So you end up with this. So that's kind of not good for a ruler to draw a straight line. But if you sort of angle down, then you skip those ridges, which is fine. But that just seems like too much work for a ruler for me. So I don't like it. I should have mentioned that this was all printed together. This was a complete set. So this bone folder, we love. These rulers, I'm sorry to my husband, those were a fail. I kind of hate them. Okay. This one now is an angle tool. So what I like about this is if you're making books, which I often do, you just line this up onto the edge of your paper so that you can get a proper mitered edge. So basically what a mitered edge is a corner that's cut off. Okay, so I'm going to quickly intervene and voice over this part of the video. I started to get a little bit frustrated because this angle tool didn't make sense. So I don't know if it's a user error or if it's something that I did, but I started playing around, and when I recorded, I was talking through this project, and then as I watched it back, I have no idea what I was saying. It didn't make any sense. And then I started folding paper and trying to figure out what I was doing, and I'm just going to say, I don't know if I'm using this tool properly, but I actually hate it. So let's move on. Moving on to the last piece of this bundle. This is a spacer. So there's really not much to do with this other than how you space your pieces. So let's say you have something like this. So basically what we have is this piece of paper that is going to cover our chipboard or whatever to make a book. Okay, if you see where I'm going here. Now you see this is our spine in our book. So it's where our paper would be sewed in or glued in or whatever. Okay, so I just made a really haphazard book, but here's what you want to do. If you wanted to, make a cover substantial, you would put your chipboard pieces in here. Now, the purpose of this is to give you enough space between your chipboard pieces. So if you're going to take a piece of chipboard, and we're going to call this our chipboard. This will be our chipboard here. So you want to, glue down your first piece of chipboard here, and then your second piece of chipboard here, so that when it does open and close, it has that space. So you'll end up with a little gap in between it, and that's going to give you the perfect fold to open and close. Okay? That's what that's for. It seems like such a simple little thing, but it's actually a really nice little tool to make sure that your books open and close and the spines don't, crush or resist. So this is definitely, I think this one's a pass. Again, the explanation I think might be a little bit of a fail, but anyways, we like this one. So out of that whole set, we like these and we hate these. Okay? Sorry, Carrie. Carrie is my husband. We don't like these ones. We like these. All right, so the last tool I have is also for bookbinding. This one I think is my favorite. I love the color, the way that it printed. It's super pretty. But this piece that comes out Really, really, really nice. You might be wondering what this is for. This is also for bookmaking. I make a lot of books, not for any particular reason other than I just like to make them. I like to make junk journals. I like to make notebooks. I make all kinds of stuff. So sometimes if you try to measure something, well, I don't always get the measurements correct. So what this does is this little tool lines up your holes perfectly so that when you sew a book together, the lines in your cover and your spine and your paper are all perfectly even. So let me show you how this works. So what you do is you take your paper. Let's say this is our book. Okay, this is going to be our book. And I need to stitch it all together. So I'm just going to fold these all in half. So I want to sew these pieces together so that they're a nice signature or insert for our book. And you're just going to plop it down inside of there. And I like to push everything right to the very top. And you drop in the little piece, okay? And it holds everything in place. Now, sometimes what I like to do is mark the holes. So let's call this one 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. The reason why I put those numbers on there is because if I take, let's say, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I'm going to take a book awl. This is just a little pokey tool, and I would poke my holes. Let's say I'm going to do 2 and just put it in and press. 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay? And now you have your holes for your stitches, and they're perfectly spaced. Now, if I was to come in with another piece and I go look at these holes, I'd be thinking, well, which holes did I punch? So that if I was to add another signature, add some more paper into here, then the holes would be lined up. So I think just adding those little numbers is a key feature. When you go to put your cover is going to be perfectly lined up as well if you have to poke your holes in your cover. So I hope that makes sense. I don't know if that was more confusing. I'm so confusing today. I in my brain, it makes sense to me, but then trying to get it out and explain to people what's going on inside my head is a scary place to be. All right, so this was a pass. I do think that there could be an addition here to add some numbers, and you can just do that with a permanent marker like I've done, and I'll just continue the rest of the way. So this way, in the future, when I know that I've poked holes, it line. Anyways, my brain, it just checked out. All right, whatever I was saying, just disregard. Put numbers. Cool, love this. This was okay, few minor tweaks, but I do love it. Nonetheless, I love the colors. This, I have another one being printed right now as we speak. My husband just sent me a video of his 3D printer printing the next one. Super cool. So, what else did we have? Ooh. All in all, it was pretty fun to watch him learn to make things, and as he works through more projects, things just keep getting better and better. So if you have a 3D printer, there are all kinds of free files, which I'm sure you're aware of. I have designed some 3D print files myself before my husband had gotten a 3D printer, and I had met with someone years ago who helped me design ink pad holders for Jenny card designs. And let me see if I can find them. I have a stack of them here. I designed these ones, but my husband didn't print these ones. I paid someone to do this for me, to make the file and to print them, but they're all my design. So I own the files for these, even though he made them. I bought them from him. And eventually, once my husband gets better at it, learning how to make stuff, I'll have him start printing my line of products. And my line of products has a distress ink holder, which to me, this makes more sense. Okay, so distress ink pad holder and a blending tool holder. This makes more sense. You've probably seen me use this in videos before, but so that's what that one's for. And then we also have a regular ink pad holder. I have a whole bunch of them here. A few different designs. Love them. I like this one because it's on like a little platform and it's like puzzle pieces. So that was pretty cool. I love that one. And this one holds regular ink pads. And it has like a spot to pick up your ink pad and it fits them perfectly. So there are some more. I'll show you all those in another video. I'll pull out all the different ones that I designed and I'll show those in another 3D print video if you're interested in seeing that. So that's it for today. Super fun craft. It's too technical for me. I feel like there's too much time and investment in learning how it works, and I'm not interested in doing that. I have enough things to learn about. So I just allow my husband to do those. I search on the internet for different things that I want, and I just send it to him and show him, can you make this? So that's really fun. But eventually, as my husband improves his 3D print skills, I'll be able to have him create the things that I design. So I'm excited for the future of that. But for now, this is where we are. Some things are great. Some things are ridiculous. Some things don't work the way you want them to. Some things look like garbage but are really cool. And some things are awesome and you just wish they were a little bit better. Okay, so that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check out all of the work that I've been making my husband do. Stay tuned for more in this sort of fun, experimental part of my crafty journey. Have yourself a lovely day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!